Hi, this is Jamie Slocum, host of Webcomics Reviews and Interviews. Today, we're talking work environment, so sit back, relax, and let the Geek Fest begin. Artists are a really weird bunch. If for no other reason than each one of us prefers an entirely different work environment than the next person. Sometimes this can be range from, nice and quiet, no distractions, all the way up to, well, let's just say some of us require a certain level of chaos in our environment. That's fine. Everybody has a different situation they've gotten used to either because of how they were raised or just because of the stuff that happened around them. I mean, I basically grew up in a relatively active household, so if I don't have a certain level of chaos going on around me, it tends to drive me nuts to the point where I just simply can't do anything. Conversely, you've got some people that require an absolute mausoleum level of quietness in order to get anything done. Again, that's fine. And I'm just pointing this out because you have all these books, articles, and people that go around telling you that this is the basic work environment, and if you're not working in this kind of environment, you're not going to get anything done. Straight up, if you need it, tell these people that they need to take a long walk off a very short pier. Sure, they're great for the general case, but the reality is everybody's different, and you need to allow for that in your own personal space. Anything that gets you up and working needs to be encouraged. With that in mind, I'm going to tell you 3 basic tips and see if that helps any. The first is to obviously experiment until you find an environment that works for you. And I don't mean just little things. I mean, compare this with whatever your personal favorite is. I work best when I have a certain level of cleanliness around me. Part of that's because I'm ADHD, has certain OCD features, and so if it's not a certain level of clean, sometimes dramatically clean, I'll be distracted until that's been dealt with. I can get away with a certain level of chaos, don't get me wrong, but if it's basically hit the point where I can't walk around my room without hitting something, that's an issue. That needs to be dealt with, and until that's being dealt with, I can't do anything, I also need a certain level of sound. Like I said, I grew up in a very active household. I need a certain level of sound. That's just why I will always make sure I've got a TV going on whenever I'm working. Yeah, occasionally I will be distracted by what's going on the TV, don't get me wrong, but generally speaking, I can do a lot more with the TV on or a radio on than I can without. Obviously some people are the other extreme. If there's so much as, a bird in the area, it's going to drive them to the point of distraction. Food and water is another one. Before I work, I always make sure I grab some sort of meal, and that I basically make sure I've got some sort of water going on. Of course, in my case, it doesn't necessarily mean water, but we'll get to that. What I'm basically looking at is I actually tend to have a quick lunch. Well, sometimes I'll go out and grab something really quick, but I'll almost always include a 10-15 minute walk to the local convenience store to grab a large Diet Pepsi. That's fine. That's part of my established routine, and by enforcing that routine, it's a lot easier to get back into the works flow. Yeah, I'll be bringing up ritual a little bit here very shortly. You just need to figure out what kind of work environment it was, and that's the second tip, is experiment until you find the perfect version for you. Everybody has something different, and it's just a matter of figuring out what it is. If somebody tells you this is the ideal and it doesn't work for you, tell them to screw off. You've already tried it, it didn't work, here's why. Here's the disaster that came from it. Experiment a little bit, figure out what works, go for it. Sometimes you'll find that a little bit of a change will actually make your efficiency go up. And of course, you want to keep it down to some sort of ritual. You're going to find that the more rituals you have, well, you don't want to get too crazy with the rituals, but you want to have at least a couple that, whenever you do them, get you straight into the workflow. That's fine, as long as they're basically little things and, they get you going. If you get to the point where you have way too many of them, you might want to cut back. So, I'm hoping that helps. Have a good evening.